Hi, everyone. Welcome to our last Know How Nordonia session of the 2014-2015 school year. And tonight we have a special guest. We have the Director of Technology from Chagrin Falls Exempted. I always forget the exact term. It's such a long name. But from Chagrin Falls Schools is what I'll say. We have Mike Daugherty. He used to work at Nordonia, so we have some connections there. And I wanted him to join us tonight and just talk a little bit about going one-to-one and the process that Chagrin has gone, because they have done a lot and they have shared a lot with us, and I thought it would be really good to have him join us and give us some information about how it went, what they did, and then we'll have some time for some questions as well. So Mike, thank you, and I'll let you take it away.
Okay, sounds good. I know that you guys have already had Nancy on Know How Nordonia. I'm Nancy Kevin, probably a month ago now, so I won't spend too much time going into the details. But just to give you some background on where we're at, we are currently one-to-one in grades 3 through 12 with Chromebooks. So every student in grades 3 through 12 has a Chromebook. All of our students do take their Chromebooks home at night, even our young kids. Our third graders this year waited till the second trimester to take them home. Mainly because we were trying to get used to the process for the young kids. But other than that, all the kids take them home. The kids will keep their Chromebooks all summer long. We had a lot of internal talks about what we could do over the summer with the Chromebooks, knowing that every kid would have them. So we're going to let the kids keep them over the summer. And then going forward next year, we're going to roll it up to second grade. So second grade will be one-to-one. We're going to run pilots in grades K and 1. So we'll have 2 classrooms in both grades running Chromebooks, with the assumption that if things go well, we'll then kind of roll it out. So hopefully by the 2017 school year, we will be one-to-one across the board. Actually, 2016 school year will be one-to-one across the board. So from our side, I want to talk a little bit about kind of the rollout, kind of our process. Similar to what you guys are doing, we ended up getting a lot of Chromebooks very quickly. We ended up getting roughly around 1,200 Chromebooks this past summer through a straight A grant. So to roll them out, we kind of did two big things. The first thing we did was we sent a letter home to the community, kind of letting them know that we were going to have parent nights. And we had 4 nights, and on each night we had 2 sessions. And the sessions were broken up by grade level, but you weren't forced to go to your particular grade level. So for example, if you had a 5th grader and a 10th grader and you could only attend one of the 2 nights, that was fine. You chose which one you wanted to attend. Content was changed a little bit to be grade level specific, but again, pretty similar overall. So we did 4 nights, 8 sessions total, and I brought the PowerPoint along. So I'm going to try and show you guys the PowerPoint. We don't have to go through the whole thing, but I just want to give you an idea of what we kind of went through. Angela, can you see that okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay, good. So in the first couple slides, we just talked a little bit about kind of why we were doing this. So we talked about digital natives, and we showed some stats on when very popular websites were launched, and how most of the kids that are in the school system are older than those websites. I mean, younger than those websites. So they've grown up with Google and LinkedIn and Facebook and things like that. From there was a quick clip over here on the left-hand side of Jamie Kasub, kind of talking about how education is changing. So we kind of tried to get them in the mindset of why we were doing this. From there, we actually talked about what a Chromebook was. So we went kind of exactly what the device is, what it can do. We even had a whole slide dedicated to what it can do and what it can't do. We had a lot of parents in our district that just had never heard of a Chromebook before, and all they knew was that it was something that worked on the web and that it couldn't print. That's what they heard. So we wanted to go through and show them that it can do documents, spreadsheets, presentations. It can do multimedia websites, photo editing, all the things that you can do on a traditional laptop. And then we did address with those parents right off the bat, we did address the concern that they don't print. What we said was, that is by design. We did tell them that yes, technically they do print, but we kind of went through the process on why we don't allow them to print and how we're kind of moving toward an electronic society. We talked a lot about Google Classroom at this time as well, so they could kind of understand that. From there, we went through a little bit of care of the Chromebook. So we talked about not picking off the keys. I don't know about you guys, but from our side, we saw a lot of kids picking keys off of traditional laptops. So we went over the keys, keeping it in their case at all times, kind of good places and bad places to sit them. This picture on the left is actually a picture I had that year of a student who just left their Chromebook kind of sitting on the edge. So we talked about how basically how to take care of it from that side. We covered, no food, no liquids. We talked about not leaving it in the car overnight, especially for the high school students. And then the last thing we kind of hit from the care side was the power cord. We talked about not pulling the power cord out. The one thing that we don't replace in our program is power adapters. So if there is a problem with power adapter, we kind of assume that the student has done something. So if there's a problem with your power adapter, you are charged to get a new one. We quickly went through the process of what to do when one was broken. And then the last two slides, we talked about internet safety. So we wanted to kind of show them what it was like when they were in the district. So while they're in the district, everything is filtered and safe. But while they're home or out in the wild, as we called it, everything was wide open. So we kind of gave them this graphic and went through that a little bit. We reinforced our point about home versus outside the district. And then we talked a little bit about how we do internet safety training. So we do something at all grade levels. Most of it is through Common Sense Media and Learning.com. And then the last thing we did was we put up our contact info. So if somebody wanted to contact us offline, we chose not to do questions. Whoops, I'm going to stop sharing. We chose not to do questions in front of the whole group. Hang on one sec. I can't get my screen share to stop. There we go. We chose not to do questions in front of the whole group, mainly because we didn't want to spend a bunch of time answering questions from kind of questions out of left field. I mean, so for example, what we did was we told everybody, we'll be at the back of the auditorium. You can come talk to myself. Nancy was there, as well as Steve, my technician, the building principal, and in some cases the superintendent. And we said, we'll be at the back there, and you can come talk to us then. One of the questions I got was, how am I going to prevent Russian hackers from hacking into their child's computer and stealing their identity? I didn't really feel like fielding that one in front of a whole group. So we felt like kind of corralling those questions at the end would help out a lot. Todd, you asked, how do we follow up with parents that didn't attend those meetings? One of the things we did was we did tell parents that it was mandatory that they attended. Based on the numbers we saw, we used Sign Up Genius to kind of follow this. We had about a 90% attendance rate. And then after the fact, we blasted out that presentation I showed you. We blasted that out to all the parents in the district. So anybody that didn't come still got a copy of the presentation. Parents were all required to sign an AUP. And the AUP stated that they knew that the device was owned by the district. And then it went through some basic uses of the devices, what to do and not to do. We had both students and parents sign that. And that also covered our internet filtering policy again. The big thing from that meeting from our side was to really talk about the care of the Chromebook and to explain to them about the internet filtering. I really didn't want parents, I wanted parents to understand exactly what the device could do, both at school and at home, and wanted to make sure we kind of got that message through. So like I said, we had probably 90% attendance. The meetings were held in mid-August, and the Chromebooks arrived in late August. So the way we decided to roll them out was we had a date picked. It was a Saturday morning, and from 9 a.m. until 3:30 p.m., we camped out in the middle school cafeteria. So all the Chromebooks were inventoried and set at the back. To inventory the Chromebooks, what we actually did was used our high school Key Club students and National Honor Society kids. So they came in the day before, they unboxed everything, they inventoried it, because with 1,200 Chromebooks and 2 people, it would have taken us days. So they were nice enough to come in and inventory them for us. Then on the actual day of the event, we lined up tables, and we had about 20 volunteers. So we had 10 tables across, 2 volunteers at each table, and essentially we just told everybody, come pick up your Chromebook. They would come that day, they would bring their signed acceptable use policy, they would bring their $50 check per Chromebook, so we do charge a $50 fee, which I know we've discussed before. And once they turned in the AUP and the check, we gave them a Chromebook. To inventory them, we had a shared Google Doc that everybody at the table was using. It was broken up by grade level. So you would come up, Angela, for example, and just say, okay, my son is Kevin. I need a Chromebook for 6th grader Kevin. We'd look him up. We'd mark him off on the sheet, hand you your Chromebook, hand you your bag, and off you went. We had extra forms available just in case people didn't have them. We did originally set up a station for people to come over if they needed help signing in, but out of the 1,100 people that showed up that day, I think 2 people stopped at that station. So from your side, I wouldn't bother with that. It didn't seem like that was a big deal. The kids kind of figured that out pretty quickly. The only other thing that I would say that we noted from that event was we allowed parents to pay the fee with 1 check for, say, 3 kids. Going forward, I wouldn't do that. I do a separate check for each kid. It became hard for us to track in the database on who had paid. So when they gave 1 check for 3 kids, we were supposed to go through and mark it on all 3 kids, but that didn't happen very well. So we spent a little time following up on that. I got a question over here. Do you do any follow-up troubleshooting with parents or any classes for them? We did not do that this school year, but we are doing it the coming school year. So we're going to do 2 nights, 1 in October, 1 in the spring, kind of the same way you guys do a PD day. So we're going to do, instead of having 4 sessions or 6 sessions, we're only going to have 2 sessions that night that they can choose from. A lot of those will be pretty Google Doc heavy, but it'll be Google Docs, probably some stuff on Infinite Campus, which is our gradebook/SIS. And our goal is, at least in the Google Docs, is to have the kids teach those. So we're going to pair the kids up with a teacher, but for the most part, let the students run those sessions. I think if you were a parent and you had a 4th grader teaching you how to use Google Docs, I think that's pretty powerful. So again, we'll have some supervision in there, but that's the idea. It's a group of kids teaching parents. Hopefully that goes well. We're still kind of working the details out on that, but that is that's the plan. Oops, I got to pop up here. I'm sorry. Other than that, the rollout went really smooth. We got about 1,100 Chromebooks rolled out that day. We reminded everybody with an e-blast that afternoon. So probably about noon, we did 1 more e-blast out to everybody and just said, hey, don't forget, we're passing out Chromebooks up at the middle school. Just come on up. Anybody that did not come up that day, we then rolled them out through the high school library the following Monday. And by the end of the week, we had everybody rolled out. There were only, I know this came up before, we had a few parents who chose not to join. Who said, okay, you know what, I don't know if I agree with this program. I don't think I want to do this. We had probably 10 people, I'd say, that went that route. So on Monday, their kids came to school and they did not have a Chromebook. By Friday, just about every one of those parents had signed on, either through peer pressure from their students, seeing everybody else in the classroom with a device, or hearing from other parents in the district how well it was going. They all kind of signed on. So we haven't really had a lot of problems with that, just those initial first questions. So that pretty much covers the rollout. I know we talked before, but I'm going to touch on it again. In terms of loaners, what we do if kids don't have their device, things like that, we do expect every student to come to school with their Chromebook in their bag, charged, ready to go, but we all know that doesn't happen. So in each one of our libraries in the 3 buildings, we have spares. So we have roughly 5% spares. The students are allowed to come in, check them out, and borrow one from the day. A lot of times they're more borrowing a charger as opposed to a whole Chromebook. They hardly ever forget the Chromebook. It's usually more about the charger. Kids charge them right up in class. Chromebooks charge so quickly that a lot of times the kids will just, if they don't have a charge in their first period class, they'll find an outlet, they'll sit down, they'll plug it in, they'll charge it, and by the end of the first period, they have enough of a charge to get through the day. Charging in class has kind of become part of the culture. Kids know just when they need a charge to get up, move to a seat where they can charge to, and just kind of go forward. It hasn't really become a big problem for us. That's really kind of, how the program runs. Again, I know you guys heard from Nancy, so I don't want to spend too much time on stuff you've already heard. The other thing that I wanted to touch on tonight was kind of how we've engaged our staff, both with PD and kind of in the classroom itself. So first off, we do have a full-time integrationist, which you guys have talked to, Nancy. So Nancy handles all of our PD, and she does that in a variety of ways, both large group instruction, small group instruction, and even some one-on-one, depending on what the situation is. One of the things that we're pretty excited about going forward for next year is instead of doing Digital Academy like we've all done a few years back, we're going to try and do something a little different this year, and we're asking each quarter, we're asking 25 people to sign up, semester, I'm sorry, 25 people to sign up, and they're going to pick three goals that they want to know how to accomplish by the end of the semester. And what Nancy, myself, and Steve are going to do is then look at those goals, divide them up based on who we think it works best with for each goal, and kind of attack PD that way, really kind of go more individualized. We kind of felt like at this point, the group sessions are great, but most of our staff is at that point where they need that individualized help. We've got those people that we need to bring forward, and then we've got those people that are all the way on the bleeding edge that want to go further. So we're going to try and see if we can service the whole population with that. One of the things we did this year that went really well was our Google certification course. So Google has a ton of different certifications for teachers. You can be a Google certified educator, and then go on to be a Google certified teacher, and then after that you can be a Google certified trainer. We have just hit that first level. So in the first semester, we brought in 12 teachers, mostly 6th grade teachers with a few 5th and 4th grade. And we did a Google certification course. The Google Certified Educator course takes 5 weeks. Well, there's 5 tests. You can do it however many weeks you want, but there's 5 tests. Each test is about 90 minutes long, 60 questions each, open book, open note. So when we actually did meet to take the test, we met as a group and we took it as a group. But basically the way we ran that was Nancy would meet with those folks once a week during their planning period at lunchtime, and we would review for that week's test. So if we were studying Gmail that week, we'd sit and we'd go through notes for Gmail. Then when the test time came around, typically we took the test after school. We took it as a group. Everybody came in. We all brought the test up together, and we all took it together. Everybody got different questions. There were some crossovers, but we definitely saw different questions across the board. But being in that group setting, when you had a problem or couldn't figure out an answer, you could just simply ask for help. Again, it's open book, open note, so we had Google up, we were researching answers the whole time, and that went really well. So our first semester went really, really well. We had 12 people that got certified. That was awesome. We opened it up to a larger group the second semester, and we had 17 people. And this time it was mostly high school, middle school folk. I would say the second semester did not go as well as the first, and mainly because with that first group, they all had a common planning time. They all had lunch at the same time. It was very easy to get them all together as a group. With the high school, middle school folks and spring sports and things like that, trying to get them all in the same room to study and then in the same room to take a test kind of became problematic. We had some people that went off on their own. After taking the first test, they felt pretty confident. They kind of tried to plow through it themselves, and that did not go so well. By the last test, it was spread pretty thin. Nancy ended up having 4 review sessions each week, and then we had 4 or 5 different test sessions. So we kind of lost that group mentality, and I think losing that group mentality made it tough for us. So going forward, I know we're going to do it again in this fall. We're looking for a way to kind of rekindle that group feeling. Without that collaboration, without that group effort, it didn't go as well as we wanted. The tests were challenging. The tests were not easy. There were some of the questions dive into parts of Google that you just never touch, and that was part of the reason why we went this route. We don't use Gmail right now. We didn't use Calendar when we started this. We don't use Google Sites, but we wanted people to see what was out there. We wanted them to understand what Calendar could do, what Sites could do, what Gmail could do. So when you take the test, what you'll find is there are a lot of questions that go really deep into random areas of Google. So like Gmail had some questions on archiving and filtering. Google Sites had a lot of questions on how to put embed things on the page, things from other websites, things like that. Calendar got really deep into permissions. So if I gave you X permissions, Angela, what could you do to an invite? What could you not do? Could you change it? Could you delete it? Again, you can have all those things up. One of the things that we did in each test was when we were doing our calendar test, everybody had a Google Calendar open. When we did our sites test, everybody had their own site open. So you got to one of those questions that kind of stumped you a little bit. You could go in and actually practice yourself and try it. Again, 90 minutes for 60 questions. It takes usually about all 90 minutes, maybe a little less. But in the end, we ended up with 37 people. including myself, Nancy, Steve, our support technician. 37 total people are Google certified educators. The goal for next year is to double that and get our administrators certified. So we're looking at running a separate admin group. I think we're going to try and do that cohort through admin council, things like that, where we actually have all the administrators together. But the goal is to get all of our administrators certified as well. The only downside, I think, to the Google certification course is that the educator cert only lasts 18 months right now, and then it expires. And as of right now, Google does not have an easy renewal path. So as the way it stands, to get recertified, it looks like you have to take all 5 tests again. I did notice, though, if you go to their Google Educator website, the tests are down. You cannot take the tests anymore because they're updating them. Our hope is that they're going to create one of those tests where we can recertify with ease as opposed to going through all 5 tests again. Cost-wise for the district, it was $15 per test, so $75 a person. One of the things that we didn't do, but we intend to do going forward, is we did ask that people not take them on their own. The few people that did take them on their own failed. We ate that cost this first time around, but going forward, if someone steps outside the group, we are going to ask them to cover that cost. Again, it's not so much about the cost, it's more about breaking that cohort and breaking that kind of group mentality. I mean, we really saw a big difference between session 1 and session 2. So I thought that went really, really well. And then the other big thing that we did that I would love to see Nordonia do, because we saw such positive impact from this one, is we did our 21st Century Activities Contest. And Angela, you're probably sick of hearing about this one because I think I've told you every time you've been out. But what we did with that was there was a post on Twitter that we saw in August. And the post was entitled 21 21st Century Activities for Teachers. And what we did was Nancy and I sat down and we paired. Are we back?
Oh, yeah. I lost you for a second.
Yeah, I was saying I lost you guys too.
Okay.
All right.
You're back.
I'll back up just a little bit because I don't know where we lost it. Again, we saw a post on Twitter that was 21 21st Century Activities for Teachers. And Nancy and I sat down at the beginning of the year and we pared that down to 10 activities that we thought that our staff would do. At the start of the school year, we sent a big email out and said, okay, here's the contest. There's going to be 10 activities all year long. Anybody who completes X number of the activities will win a T-shirt. And then anybody who wins a T-shirt will also be entered into a contest to win $1,000 for their classroom. We put no stipulations on the $1,000. So if you wanted to buy a new laptop, if you wanted to buy whatever you wanted to buy for your classroom for $1,000, technology would cover it. So we're wrapping that contest up right now. Our last activity is going on as we speak. One of the things that we felt made that contest so successful was we required you to use Twitter as your proof of doing the activity. So every activity that we asked you to do required you to post a picture or a comment or an audio file or something on Twitter with a district hashtag. So if you get a second to search the hashtag CFEVS21, that will show you all of our 21st century activities throughout the year. So you can see all the different entries that people put in. Some of them were really easy. I remember one of them was very, very simple. It was kind of toward Christmas break. We said, hey, just tweet out your favorite tech tip. And so all you had to do was just tweet out some tip that you really liked in terms of technology. Another one that went over really, really, really well was selfies in the classroom. So figure out how to integrate selfies into your curriculum. We saw a lot of teachers participate in that. But again, across the board, it's been really, really engaging. I looked at the stats yesterday, and we've had 45 people do at least one of the activities. And then in terms of just our social clout or access, we've had almost double the number of Twitter accounts we had at the start of the year to now. So we had probably 60, 65 at the start of the year, and we're up to about 120, 130 staff members on Twitter now. So that was good to see too. Angela, you asked a question, is there a particular platform you prefer your teachers to use for their class websites, such as Weebly's, Wikis, etc.? Really right now, we do a lot through Classroom. I know that Classroom is not your traditional LMS. but we found Classroom to be really, really, really successful for us. And over the course of the year, Classroom has gotten better. They've updated it, they've added things, they've made it easier for teachers to use. I know, for example, in a recent update, they allowed you to have a co-teacher now, which was a big issue for us in the beginning. I had a lot of special ed teachers that wanted to be part of a classroom and had to join as a student. So we have probably about 85% of our teachers in grades 3 through 12 that are using Classroom. Going forward, we're going to mandate that everybody uses Classroom 3 through 12. And we've got some minimum specifications that they have to have in their classroom. In terms of class websites, a lot of them have kind of migrated to Classroom for that. But we still have our class website through eSchoolView, through the website, and teachers use that as well. What we liked about Classroom was that it was one-stop shopping for the kids. So the kids could go in there and they could see all their classes, they could see all the announcements, all their homework, all of that in one place. So we felt like that was kind of the best way to go. And again, I think Classroom's gone really, really, really well for us. Looking forward to another year of that. Do you have any other questions or thoughts on? I feel like I'm just kind of rambling here.
Hey, Mike, I really appreciate the idea about training the admins. Our admin meetings, we break it up with learning and relationships and management, and we really try not to make management heavy. Unfortunately, that ends up getting heavy most times. But this would be an excellent opportunity for our learning piece scheduled throughout the year. So I appreciate the idea about that, and we're going to be talking about that soon, Angela.
Todd, there's one thing to note on that that makes it a bit challenging, and I'll tell you how we're going to try and deal with it, and then you guys, I'd love to hear your ideas on it. But the way the tests work is once you've taken your first one, you have to complete the other 4 within 90 days. So trying to spread it out, we were originally thinking, okay, 1 per admin council, once a month, we'll just boom, 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 we'll make it part of the process. And that's not going to work because we're going to run out of time. So I think what we're talking about doing is doing the initial trainings in the admin council, the review sessions, and then trying to do something with the administrators over the course of, we're looking right now around February, just doing 1 test per week with all the admins. Just boom, 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 boom. So spend the basically first half of the year training them, and do the second half of the year taking the test so they can actually get that certification.
And you said before the test is about an hour long?
It's 90 minutes. Depends on how well versed you are in Google and how fast you get through it. We had some people that knocked it out in 45, and other people took it all the way to the wire. So kind of depends.
Would you be against the idea of taking all the tests in one day?
So I threw that out to Nancy, and she thought people might get burned out. I took all mine. I took 2 in one day, and then the other 3 the next. But again, I'm an IT guy. I didn't think it was that bad. Again, if you're in a big group setting, if you brought everybody together and said, okay, I'm going to feed you some lunch, we're going to plow through these things, I personally don't see an issue with it, but I know that when I mentioned that to Nancy, she cringed. So yeah. I guess it's 2 sides of the coin there looking at it.
Yeah, I think that was kind of where I was initially heading towards, was we would do our training throughout the year, obviously do some reviews as we lead up, and typically we end up actually canceling an ATM, especially this time of year, sure. Because they're just at that point in time they're not as needed as much. But this would be a perfect opportunity, probably about, now it depends on how testing and everything else goes in the spring next year, but probably like March and April time frame to do that testing, and I could see us just taking a day and knocking it out, and, sure. And like you said, in a group setting, take breaks when needed and everything, and start early, work late, and get it done. I think they would rather do that than try to spread it out, and that way you have the group all together too. And I think that's also a very important point about having the group together, not branching out and trying it separately. So.
I will say, we'll share with you, Nancy did so one of the things that we did was we hardly found any study guides online. There was almost nothing for this. So what we did was we took screenshots of the questions as we went through the tests, and then Nancy, bless her soul, converted all of them into Google Forms. So there's actually like a little study guide. So you see the question, You can pick your answer, and then you click to find out whether you got it right or wrong. Be happy to share that with you. I know that they're changing some of the tests, but I got to figure a lot of those questions will stay the same. And I think that's a great way to help everybody study. It gives you an idea of exactly what kind of questions you're going to see. But again, I think if you do it as a group, you'll be fine.
Well, I know Angela and Kyle and I are planning on getting trained this summer and testing this summer, so we would have a good first glimpse as to what they would encounter then later in the school year. Cool.
But yeah, it's going really well. The other thing we're doing is with that 21st Century Activities Contest. I met with Tech Advocates a few weeks ago, and they mentioned that while we did have good participation, they felt like we would have got a lot more participation if the admins would have done those activities as well. Because again, they're not hard. A lot of it's sending a tweet or recording a student saying something or taking a picture, things like that. So we're going to try and incorporate that as part of admin council as well. So whatever the activity is for those 3 weeks, when we meet, try to get the administrators to quick knock that out during an admin council so the staff can see them doing those activities.
Yeah, and Mike, something I want to share is during our PD day last week, last Tuesday, we had an in-service day, and we had an administrator come and join a lot of the sessions and everything with us, which I think was really good. And afterwards, the principal had asked me if I would help him set up a Google Classroom over the summer so that he can have a Google Classroom for his staff.
Oh, that's cool.
So he would be the teacher, and then his staff would be the students, and then he can post things, that type of thing. And I think that's a great way for principals to kind of, and administrators to kind of see Google Classroom work for them,
Sure.
from a PD side. So I think that's a really, really good idea, and I just wanted to put that out there to you as well, because I think that's something that...
That's a cool idea.
Mm-hmm.
Angela, when you set that up with that principal, I'm not sure who you're talking about, but let me know. I'd like to sit in on that too.
Okay.
If I'm
we had done a classroom for students this year for tech support. So one of the things that we wanted to avoid was a bunch of rumors going around about what did or didn't work on the Chromebooks. So we created a classroom that I ran for students, and we just blasted that join-in code to all the students and asked them to join. We got probably, I don't know, about half the kids join the classroom, and then I would check it once a day for posts and answer questions, things like that. That I think helped a lot. Students asked for particular apps to be unblocked from the Chrome Web Store. They had questions about how certain things worked and why we did or didn't do things. So that I think that was a good platform for us to communicate as well. So.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I think we lost Mike again. Oh, are you there?
I don't know why I keep dropping. My network is fine here.
I don't know.
I don't know either. Huh? Yeah, I'm all good.
Well, you got back on, so that's always a good sign.
Yeah, I mean it's coming. I don't see a drop, but I'm definitely hopping off here. Yeah, we thought that worked really well for the kids. Again, they had a chance to ask questions that I could then answer. So it kind of helped a lot of that misinformation, things like that, from spreading. It kind of fell off second half of the year. They didn't have as many questions, but I think in that beginning, it really helped us to have that thing. And again, I went in once a day, looked at the questions, answered the ones. I deleted things that were not relevant or not appropriate, and that stopped pretty quick. I mean, I think on the second day we stopped having kids goof around. Everything that was put in there was pretty serious. And then we did see kids helping other kids in there as well. I got in there one time and somebody had asked how to change their avatar in Google, and before I could respond, 3 kids had already told them how to do it. So again, just another kind of neat collaboration feature.
Mm-hmm. Mike, I have another question. When we met with some of your teachers on Thursday for a little field trip, one of your teachers shared with us that there is a building-wide like Chromebook code of conduct or some type of thing that you have shared as like for each building.
Sure.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that was something, I want to say that came from the middle school, if I'm correct. And that was something that David Wessel had designed and distributed to his staff. Of course, he got staff input on it. But it was distributed out to all the classrooms as just kind of a way to remind the kids, hey, I know you're on a computer, you're in a classroom, you're still expected to act the way you should always act. It talks a lot about, a little bit about care of the Chromebook, but more about being responsible online. a lot about digital citizenship and etiquette, things like that. And I want to say, I don't know about our high school classrooms, but I want to say in 4 through 8, I think it's actually posted in every one of the classrooms. So the kids kind of see it every day as they come in and leave. And again, it was just a nice reminder for them. I'd be happy to share it with you. I don't have that on me, but I'd be happy to share it with you. One of the other things that we had discussed too, Angela, and I'm going to try and bring this up, was you had said, mentioned about questions from parents and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
We created a frequently asked questions document, which I'm going to share real quick, which just kind of answered some of the general questions that we got. Why did you guys go with Chromebooks over an iPad or a laptop? Why should my kid participate? What does the fee cover? What's expected? Will my kid use this every single day in class? We got a lot of questions about that. So what we did with this was once we had it finalized and we had some teacher input on it, we passed it out to parent nights, and then we blasted it out to the parents as well, just to kind of get the information out there about answer all those kind of questions up front, which worked out really, really well. We got a lot of the same questions over and over again, but putting that out there kind of smoothed things over.
Mike, could you send that to me? Because we did put something together like that for our handbook. In fact, maybe you already did send it to us, and I stole yours. But we have a question and answer in the back of our handbook, but just to make sure that we've got it all covered. I'd love to cross-reference it with what you have.
I'd be happy to.
Awesome, thank you.
And I don't think we have anything to add to it. Again, we haven't had a lot of questions this year. We've done some stuff with home filtering, but I know you guys are taking kind of a different approach than we did on that, which is completely cool. That's about all. I mean, most of the questions that we had throughout the year were filtering questions. You know what I mean? Anything else? I'd be happy to answer for you.
I'm trying to think of stuff. Oh, do you have, I know that you allow students to put decals and that type of thing on them, on the Chromebooks if they want to.
Yep, we saw that in 6th grade. We saw when we piloted in 6th grade, a lot of kids like to decorate their Chromebook. Is basically what we tell them is, hey, look, it's your device. Once you hit 6th grade, it's your device for the X number of years, depending on when we replace them. But when it comes to time to turn them in, so if you're a senior, our seniors are turning them in right now, we expect to get the Chromebook back the way we gave it to you. So all the stickers are pulled off, decals, whatever you've done to it needs to come back to us the way we gave it to you. And again, so far, so good. We haven't collected that many. The big collection date is actually tomorrow, so we'll see how that goes. But the first 10 or 12 we collected have been fine. We set up a station in the library to collect them. We put out some cleaning supplies in case they forgot to clean them. And yeah, it's gone pretty well. We had a shop in town that developed Chromebook stickers. Some of the kids wanted to put their initials in like script. So one of the shops in town made a good little bit of money on selling kids these like decal letters to put on them. Todd, you had a question?
Yeah, I was just going to ask. One of the things. Well, first, say something. One of the things I thought that made our last in-service so special was that we had teachers participating in the presentations. They really stepped up and did a lot. And I just wondered if you guys had put anything in place as incentives or anything to increase the participation of teachers doing that kind of stuff, just to encourage it more. I'm just looking for ideas.
We don't really have any incentives or anything like that in place. I think the big thing that's been what we've used to kind of encourage it is with Nancy being available pretty much 40 hours a week, she gives her cell phone number out to just about anybody, and she really encourages people as she talks to them to just try things, and if they run into problems, ask questions. Knowing that they can text her, and if she's not busy, she'll drop down and come help them has been really helpful. Sometimes what she'll do is she'll come into a classroom, and on first period, she'll teach the lesson, kind of model it. Second period, the teacher will teach it, and she'll kind of chime in. And then third period, she'll just be there to support it, and then she'll step away. I think teachers knowing that they have that available to them has made them more open to try things. And then again, and I think you guys will see this too, as you hear so many great success stories coming out of other classrooms, they're just encouraged by their peers. When they hear, oh, so and so did this really cool thing in science class, I want to do that. That I think carries a lot of weight as well.
Have you done anything to help them share that information more? So when they do something really cool, like Dawn on here, she does some really phenomenal things, and she's probably going to be sick and tired of me by the end of the year trying to get her to present as much as I have. But and that's stepping out of her comfort zone. That's stepping out of a lot of people's comfort zone. When they're in front of kids, that's their comfort zone. Get in front of adults, it's different. Have you done anything to try to get them to share amongst each other?
I wish I had Nancy here for that one. Nothing that jumps out. I mean, I know that we have taken good stories and shared them out. So a lot of times, if we hear of a great app that someone's using or an activity that someone's done, we'll craft an email and blast it off to the staff and kind of go from there. But nothing I can think of in terms of kind of where you're going with it.
Okay. Last time for the year, Don, I promise.
And some other things, if I can briefly share, Mike, if you're okay with some of the things that some of your teachers shared in your district. Last Thursday, we took a group of about 10 teachers to Chagrin Middle School to basically have a one-on-one conversation with a teacher in their content or grade area. And just ask them questions about the Chromebook, about the one-to-one program in the classroom, and that type of thing. And I think it went really, really well for those teachers, and I think they walked away feeling, excited. I think a lot of teachers said they were really excited about the upcoming school year, and really putting them in the hands of the kids. And I think a lot of teachers are hesitant because they feel like, what happens if something happens in my classroom, with the Chromebook. And
Sure.
At the end of the day, it's the student's responsibility, and the student will be liable for if they do something they shouldn't do, or or something happens to the Chromebook under the student's care. So I think that kind of put a lot of teachers' mind at ease, knowing that that it's not all on them to be responsible for them. A few teachers had some really good ideas. One of them, which Dawn, you'll probably really like this idea, is to have a visual cue in your classroom for what you're doing with the Chromebooks. So, for example, the kids are going to walk in your classroom with a Chromebook, and you can have a magnet or something on your board that has either an image of a Chromebook with its lid closed, or maybe even the words, Chromebook closed or Chromebook open. That way, the students know instantly when they walk in that room, do they need to have the Chromebook out and ready? And it's okay to tell the students, put the Chromebook away, we're not going to be using it today for class, or we're going to use it later on. So I think that was a good idea, to have kind of a visual cue for the student as soon as they walk in, so they're prepared and they know what they're doing.
And,
The other,
I wanted to chime in real quick too and just say that I haven't shared with you from after you guys left. Later that afternoon, one of our teachers who's been teaching for 30 some odd years came up to Nancy and he goes, "Hey, did I hear you guys met with Nordonia today to talk about Chromebooks and things like that?" And Nancy's like, "Yeah, we had some one-on-one conversations." And his comment was this: he's like, next time you do something like that, I really wish you would include me. I think if they heard it from an old-timer like me, how well these things can change their classroom, he's like, I think that would be really powerful. And to hear it from him completely unprovoked, I guess. I mean, he just kind of brought it up to us. I mean, that was really cool. This was someone that I would never consider really a tech leader by any means. And to have him say, okay, I want to tell people how well it's going and how well it's going for me, that was really cool to hear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is. And we had, we had another teacher from Licking Valley who came and talked to us when we had our in-service day, and he shared with us if his principal said to him, okay, we can go back to not having Chromebooks, he said he would fight to keep the Chromebooks. Sure. Because he said at first he was like, "What? We're giving middle school students Chromebooks and they're going to take them home, and what's up with this?" And he was kind of, hesitant, but he said, and just this has just been a year for them as well, a year or two maybe, that he said he would never go back, and he said, you're going to have to pry these Chromebooks out of these kids' hands because he said, he loves it. And I think for our teachers to hear that, Dawn, I don't know if you were in that session or not, but I think to hear him say that put a lot of teachers at ease, because I think to have a fellow teacher say, you know what, this works, it's a great thing, and I think it really did kind of allow for a sigh of relief for the teachers, because it is something new.
And
And then
I think our teachers would echo that same sentiment. Again, I've had people say, I can't imagine going back to the way things were before. It has really been, it's really been transformative for us.
That's good. And I think, Google Classroom has been a great transition for our teachers to start getting in that mode of thinking of online learning. And, and I think a lot of teachers are planning. I've had conversations with teachers at our high school a lot lately about setting up a Google Classroom over the summer. I think that's a great idea to kind of get their feet wet, because the high school is not going one-to-one for another year yet, but to set up that Google Classroom and on day one of school to kind of introduce it to the students.
Mm-hmm.
And one of your teachers also suggested that. So I think that was a good one. And then another teacher suggested having some type of area in the classroom set up as like a charging station.
Sure.
For the students, and I think that was good. A lot of your teachers mentioned that, and we've talked to Kyle about possibly getting a few extra chargers, or at least one extra charger in the classrooms. Are you doing something like that now?
Yeah, we're going to do the exact same thing. So we're going to do one spare charger per classroom. That was one of the things the teacher said is, hey, they come, they don't have one, they borrow one from a friend. It would be easier if I could just loan them one. Without having to send them down to the library, things like that. So yeah, we are planning on buying one per classroom for that exact reason.
Okay. And then how long will your students keep their Chromebooks?
So we're planning right now in 4 years. That's kind of the refresh cycle that we've got put in place. Because of the straight A grant and the way the money came in, it's going to be a little interesting how we do it. I've got a 4-year refresh plan spec'd out. But there will be times when we do a lot of trickle down. So we'll replace Chromebooks in one grade and give them to a lower grade, etc. But we're planning on 4 years. One of the things that we've struggled with is that when you go to Google's website and they talk about the lifespan of the Chromebook, it continues to change. So you might check it now and it'll tell you that this particular Chromebook is done June of 2017. And then I'll look at it in 3 months and they've pushed that out to August of 2017 or September. But we're kind of assuming 4 years based on what we've seen so far.
Mike, what are you going to do with the old ones when they're done?
So we haven't decided yet. I think a lot of it will depend on what kind of shape they're in. I've seen staff laptops after 4 years that are just beaten to heck, and I've seen some that come back pristine. And I think the other thing will be how well they run. 4 years later, running an operating system that's been updated X number of times. Top of my head, we'll probably offer some kind of buyout program. See if anybody wants to buy them, whether it be community, teachers, etc. I can't see the students buying them because they'll be getting new Chromebooks from the district that following year, so I don't see the students really buying them. But potentially, again, depending on where they're at, potentially donating them as well. I mean, there's a lot of options, but until we see what they look like in 4 years, it's so hard to tell.
Cool. I just want to say, Mike, along with the other schools that we've gone to, you and Chagrin, you guys have been an inspiration to us in helping us get this thing off the ground. So I just want to personally thank you and all your teachers too, man.
More than happy to help. Whatever. Cavs are winning.
It's been very helpful to have Nancy, because we're all learning together, and I think that's a huge piece, is that this is all new to a lot of us, or most of us, and with Google, we're realizing things are changing at a rapid speed, and to have Nancy, that I know I can email a quick question to, or say, hey Nancy, what are you doing about this? I think having that network has been really, really helpful, and I think it's given me and it's given other teachers, I think, some confidence that you can make it work.
Yeah.
It can work, and you got to take the time, you got to play with it, and like Nancy said, if it takes too much time or it's too stressful, it's not worth it. Don't do it.
And Nancy loves to share how what we're doing. I know she's working on. I think she shared it with you, Angela. I think she's working on a list of sites and applications that we use, divided by content area, and I think by grade level as well, just so you guys have a starting point. So when sixth grade says, okay, what can we use for sixth grade math? We at least have 3 or 4 websites or apps there that we found to be successful in our district.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds good. And we'll kind of wrap up here, but I also wanted to share out that Nancy shared with me something that I think is going to be hugely popular in our district. And I guess she's already shared it with your staff, but it's a end of the year Google task list. And it's
Yes.
basically ways to organize your Google Drive so that you can start fresh in the new school year with your files, and to archive them, and to archive your Google Classroom, and all that type of thing. So I will be sharing that with our staff in the next few weeks here via email. But that has been very helpful, because things like that we don't always think about. So
Sure.
that
Sure.
we start next school year fresh with a new with our Google Drive being wiped clean, with just the folder from the previous school year.
Yeah.
So
I think that's going to work out really well. We've blasted that out to the kids. It's not. I mean, you've seen the instructions; they're not hard to do, but it just kind of sets you up for that following year to have that clean slate, but knowing that all your stuff is still there. Yeah, I think ideally the kids will do it. I'd like to see some of the staff do it as well. I mean, I think that when you try with the Google Doc, because it saves and it kind of automatically saves, a lot of times you look in someone's folder and they'll have 15 untitled documents that they were just trying or they were playing with and never get deleted. So I think that fresh start is kind of just a nice way to start the year out.
mm-hmm.
We're actually going to offer in early August a couple classes for teachers to come in, set up their Google Classroom. Again, we're talking about minimum specifications for classroom, so let them come in, do those kind of things, get up to speed with what we're doing on calendar, get that set up, kind of to make that start of the year go well. So Nancy and I are still planning out the dates and how many sessions, but I know we're going to do something in early August with that.
Very good. Okay, are there any more questions? No?
All right.
Okay. All right, well, Mike, thank you again for spending a Tuesday evening with us, and for sharing all your information and everything. It's been very, very helpful, so we really, really appreciate it.
Again, you guys know we're always here. Nancy's here if you guys ever need anything. We're just a phone call or a text away, so please don't hesitate.
Thanks, Mike.
Yep, I'll see you guys soon.
All right, thank you. All
Bye.
right, and this concludes our last Know How Nordonia of the school year. So enjoy your summer, and we will see you in the fall.
Thanks, Angela.
Bye. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, guys.